Hey, how's it going? Wanted to take a few minutes here and just hop on live, talk with you guys. I think the most important thing that people are missing right now is they're building up this large portfolio, and that portfolio ends up owning them. They get tied into all the operations, they get tied into all the day-to-days, and they have everything that they worked for, which was time freedom, financial freedom, ends up coming back and kind of haunting them because that business system ends up, isn't really a system. So it ends up owning them, and it takes even more time than when they had a 9-to-5 job or when they were working for somebody else. So I figured I'd get on, talk with you guys live. You are welcome to hop over to mariodatillo.tv and chat with me there. You can actually drop right in the comments. If you got questions, whatever you want me to talk about. I've got kind of an idea of what I want to go over with you, but I also want to make sure that if you've got questions, I answer them. So let's get started here. I wanted to, here, let me drop this on the screen for you. We've got, if you want, jump over to mariodatillo.tv and you'll get a much better stream there. You'll get the opportunity to chat live with me there. And it's the best place to watch this and to communicate with me. So again, drop in the comments, drop in the chat, let me know where you're at, what you're investing in, and also what questions you have about creating systems and improving the operations of your investments. So let's talk about, do you own your investments or do they own you? I mentioned it briefly that a lot of people build up portfolios to then be owned by them, and it takes all their time. And we're going to get started here in just about 20 seconds or so, give people a chance to hop on. I've got a podcast that I launched, the Mario Datillo Show podcast, and you can check that out at mariodatilloshow.com. I just had a great episode come out this week. I interviewed Dimitri Van Camp. He's actually a real estate investor in Belgium, and he's been investing here in the United States for several years, and he sees 0 properties, and he's doing very high volume. And the whole topic of that discussion was negotiations. Dimitri is one of the best negotiators I know. And he gets into a lot of detail about how to negotiate deals, negotiate with sellers and all that. And it's a really very in-depth, great discussion. So I'd highly recommend jumping over to Mario Datillo Show and watching that when you get a chance. We've had some really great guests on the show already, and so I'm just super thankful for the high quality guests that I've had on. I got Mike Fallett, which many of you know Mike Fallett. He is known for being the book guy. And he's coming on, he'll be on next Monday, or that podcast, I should say, that interview launches next Monday. And he talks about building business systems and how he scaled his book writing company. And you might say, well, what does book writing have to do with real estate? Well, that podcast is all around very high-performing entrepreneurs and high-performing real estate investors. And what I do is I make sure that as we're talking to these individuals that we pull out all this stuff that we can use in our commercial and residential real estate investing and our businesses that we own. And I promise you're going to love that. Mike is just a super dynamic guy, and also he's a huge patriot and just a really good guy. So I've got him launching, or his podcast launches on Monday. So I am confident you will enjoy that interview. Also, we've got several other really great rock stars that I'm interviewing over the next few weeks. I'm really pumped because just today I was able to book a very good friend of mine on my show that will be coming out probably in about 3-4 weeks, but it'll tie in really well with what we're talking about today. Check out the YouTube episode on mindset, the mindset that you need in order to invest in real estate and be successful at it. That came out that came out today on YouTube. And you might say, mindset, that's boring. I don't care about that. Well, mindset is really the difference between a successful investor and a not successful investor, a complete failure. Most people don't succeed investing in real estate. And I go into why and the mindset that multi-million-dollar real estate investors have that maybe you need to implement and ingrain into your mind that's going to help you get what you're looking for. So check that out. That's on my YouTube channel, MarioDatillo.tv. And check out MarioDatillo.net. I feel like I'm just doing an ad here, but I'm really not. I'm trying to give you a lot of value and tools. MarioDatillo.net. You can go there and you can actually partner with me on your deals right from the website. Also, I'll give you the seller questionnaire that I use when I'm talking to mobile home park owners. It's the exact same form that me and my acquisition managers use, and I just give that out so you can get that on MarioDatillo.net. Totally free. I'm not going to charge you for it, and I'm sure you'll get a lot of value out of it. It'll help you value and determine if you've got a good deal or not. And then last, if you've got a mobile home park that you're looking to maybe get some help operating, reach out to me, shoot me a DM, shoot me a private message, and let me know. Our management company is considering taking on about 5 more communities to manage for others. And as you know, that's my specialty. I invest in mobile home parks, and we also own a management company that operates mobile home parks. So if you'd like some help operating your community or communities, reach out. We're going to be pretty selective on which communities we take on, but I think I can be a great value to some owners that maybe want to get out of the day-to-day ops of their communities. All right, so last time, MarioDatillo.tv is where you can watch this with the best feed and also chat with me live. I'm just going to see if we got any comments coming in yet. You can drop comments and I'll see it and I'll make sure to answer your questions. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why we're having this live tonight. I was just at a mastermind last week, and I'm involved in a lot of groups with other very professional and successful real estate investors. And one thing that I see a lot of is that these guys and girls start investing in real estate to get the freedom, right? They want the time freedom, they want that passive income, and they want to build up wealth. The problem is, as they get more ambitious, as they start to grow, what happens is they get owned by those investments, just like any other business, right? People forget that real estate investments, typically, if you're operating them, you're in business. It's just a real estate company, right? And so it's really important that we catch ourselves, because what happens is you'll typically scale, then you plateau. Because what happens is you basically get overwhelmed with all the problems and all of the daily duties that what you just bought created for you. And it can be pretty dangerous. It ends up owning you. And I only speak from experience. I mean, we were doing really well. We were scaling, buying a bunch of communities and self-storage facilities, and things were going great. And then we got to the point where it was just so overwhelming. It was like there was so much work to do. There was so much junk from 6 months ago. We made a mistake and it came back to bite us 6 months later, and we ended up having to deal with that, which held us back to where it actually stopped me from being able to acquire more communities and more assets, because I was being pulled in. And so implemented a bunch of systems, and I'm going to kind of talk about those that really saved me. I mean, I have an awesome team, and because of that awesome team, it's freed me up to go out and be able to focus on growth, focus on expansion opportunities, things like that, and really focus on the big picture vision of the company and finding good people to work with and good strategic relationships and partnerships. And the day-to-day operations are being handled by really solid people with a lot more experience than I have. And so that's what it's really done for me. And I wanted to be able to give back, give you guys the opportunity to do that too, because I know what it's like to be in the position where the properties actually own you, and everything you created, you're proud of it, but you're like, dang, this isn't what I signed up for. So few things that you really need to focus on doing in order to get out of being owned by your assets. You need to implement systems. What I mean by that is everything that you do cannot just be off the top of your head, and you can't just wing it. You can't say, well, today I feel like the best way to handle this situation is by doing this. You really need to create standard operating procedures, SOPs, okay? And you need to put some software in place that's going to allow you to be systematic about the things that you're doing on a daily basis. You need to start creating repetition. You need to start creating consistency in what you're doing, because if you do that, then you can figure out where your mistakes are. What we were doing is we were just basically doing whatever we felt was the right thing to do at that time. And we had good intentions, everything, we weren't doing anything wrong. It's just because we didn't know how we did it every time, we couldn't go back and fix mistakes to then prevent fires in the future. We were just creating all these fires, and every time we did it differently. It was just a mess, okay? And hey guys on Instagram, welcome, good to see you. If you guys are just hopping on and watching this, MarioDattilo.tv is my YouTube channel. I'd recommend watching it there. Click subscribe while you're at it. It's free, but it'll notify you whenever I'm doing this again. And you'll get the best feed, and also I can see your questions and comments better. Hey, I just got a comment. Aaron, what's up, man? John Killebrew, you gotta hop on these. He's tagging somebody to watch these. Yeah, John, you do need to be on these. Thanks, Aaron, for the recommendation. Aaron's a rock star. Aaron is actually the web developer that's built multiple websites for us. And I'm kind of throwing this out there a little bit early, but MarioDattilo.net is my most recent website that Aaron built for me. He just does a phenomenal job. So if you guys own mobile home parks and want to really build a great website, work with Aaron. He's the best. And you can catch him in my comments somewhere. But anyways, yeah, MarioDattilo.net is actually going to launch, in the next few days. We're kind of putting some things together for that. Back to what I was saying. You've got to create systems. They've got to be documented, and you've got to utilize software that's going to help you be consistent at it. Also, you need to hire properly. What I was doing, and I'll be honest, I'm not the hiring guy. I'm not the best at it. I go too much on emotion. I go too much on, do I like this person? Do we hit it off well? That's often how I hire, and it's just not a good way to do it. So you need to put systems in place in your hiring as well to make sure that you're not just hiring people you like, all right? Hiring people you like is typically going to be disaster, because they're people you like, you get along with, and it's hard to hold people that you really like accountable, especially if they don't really know what they're doing, but you hired them because they talked a good game. All right. We stopped hiring based on resumes, and we started resumes only. We do hire based on resumes, but we also, most importantly, hire based on personality traits. And that has changed the game for us. We're now looking for the right person for the right seat. And that's really important. So your hiring needs to be on point, and needs to be systematic with multiple interviews in place. And you've got to be asking the right questions and looking at the right things, not just a resume. Most resumes are lies, to be honest. People exaggerate their titles, they exaggerate how long they worked there, they exaggerate their achievements. And so it's pretty hard to tell. What I'm looking on a resume for is, what's your work history? Where did you work? How long did you work there? Generally, yeah, what was your role? But are they progressing in their roles, or are they just staying, where they're at? And so that's what a resume is good for. Other than that, it's pretty much trash. So long story short, you need to be hiring properly, and you need to be hiring systematically. From there, you need to have good meeting structure, and you've got to have good communication. And by communication, I mean systematic communication, consistent communication. It doesn't just mean that you're calling people constantly. It means that you've got things set up in the schedule for your team or areas of your team or departments or whatever to come together and communicate in a structured way to get results and to get things communicated efficiently. What we were doing before is we were basically just calling people. It's like, hey, what do you got going on? You just call them every day, see what they need. And there wasn't really any structure to it. And frankly, our communication just sucked. We thought we were doing really good, but ultimately, we were just asking people what they needed every day. And that's just not effective. And so you need to have a meeting structure that's consistent and have the right people in those meetings. You've got to have the right communication throughout the week in place to where everybody expects it, they know it's coming, and they know what needs to be communicated at those times. Hey guys, if you're just hopping on, MarioDatillo.tv is my YouTube channel. I highly recommend jumping over there and watching this from there. Also hit subscribe while you're at it. But that is where you're gonna get the best feed. And you can also comment and chat. If you got any questions about what I'm talking about, or you wanna know more about a certain area or just real estate investments in general, go ahead and drop them in the chat on my YouTube channel. I may or may not be able to see your comments. Like on Instagram, I can't see the comments right now. So anyways, long story short, jump over there, chat with me. I wanna make sure that I'm adding a ton of value to you tonight so that you can get out of the same situation that I was in several years ago. So in addition to the meeting structure and communication, you really need to have clear accountability. And this is where I'm horrible. I'm not a good manager because I'm too nice. Like, I just want to be friends with people. I want to have fun. I want to, grow and scale and do all this awesome stuff. And I want to think big picture. But when it comes down to the day-to-day of what needs to actually get done, I'm just terrible at holding people accountable and saying, hey, why didn't you do this? And making them do it. And that sounds very bossy or very aggressive, but a good manager, a good people manager will be good at that. They will make sure that people get things done. They will make sure that the things that need to get done are assigned to the right people, and it's very clear on who's accountable for what. And I got to be honest with you, there are times in our business that we struggle with accountability from the sense of people are not clear on who is responsible for what. And so you've got to, what's up, George? And George is my banker, my favorite banker, one of many, but my favorite. Eric is also up there, by the way, if he hops on and watches this. But what's up, George? George saved me today on a bunch of stuff and puts up with my crap a lot. So good to have you on, man. So anyways, what I was saying is, you've got to have clear accountability. Who is responsible for what? Because if you don't know who handles what duties, you end up just sending messages to everybody, calling 3 people. It's very frustrating too. I mean, if you're in the shoes of having a project you're working on and you need something done or you need answers to something and you don't know exactly who handles that, it's very frustrating calling multiple people, especially as your organization grows and you end up waiting a long time because you send an email or text to somebody and they don't get back to you, or when they finally get back to you, it's like, oh yeah, I don't do that. So-and-so does this. So honestly, that's something that we're working on improving. We've got it in place. It's just making it more clear to everybody and having it more accessible to where everybody just can figure out who does what very quickly. So full transparency, we're not perfect. We've got things that we need to improve on constantly. What's up, Martins? What states do you, let's see here. He said, what states do you do MHP management, and roughly what are the fees? Lastly, does the size of the community determine if outsourced management is feasible or not? So I had mentioned at the beginning that our company is looking to take on maybe 5 more communities for management, and I'd be open to working with some owners that have some communities that maybe need some help on the management side, don't want to do management. We're not a large company. We are a relatively small, nimble company, and that allows us to pay good attention to the properties. And so that's really what Martins is asked about. So to answer your question, and I did mention that we would be really selective on what communities we took on. Part of it is going to be size. Yeah, I mean, anything under 50 to 75 lots is probably not going to be real attractive for us, but also for you as a property owner to have management in place. We're going to be competitive on management fees. So I would say let's look at a property and kind of see geographically where it's at, because that's going to determine travel and other things. Also, what kind of utilities it has and other factors that are going to depend on how management intense it is for us. But I guarantee you're not going to go, oh man, these guys are overcharging. We're going to be very competitive in the market. And it's kind of, and not blowing off your question, Martins, but the fees are little bit more complex than just like a monthly management fee, because it determines what costs are passed through to the property versus eaten by the management company and so on. And I don't want to get too much off track on this discussion because I'm talking about ops, but I will say that if we don't think it's a win-win for both parties, we're not going to take on the community. We'll just tell you, hey, this isn't a good fit for either one of us, or we don't think the fees make sense for you. Because obviously we don't want to have the management fees be heavy weight on your expense ratio. So great question though, man. I appreciate you being on. Actually, Paul Martins is a great guy. If you don't know him and you're in the mobile home park space, you need to know him because he's one of the top guys, one of the main guys with SECO, Southeast Community Owners Conference, which that conference is coming up here pretty soon. So register, and I'm not getting paid to say that. Although I've told so many people, I think Martins needs to start paying me. But anyways, check that out. He's like one of the top dogs and runs a lot of the operations in that event. It's huge. It's really great. So welcome, Martins. Thanks for being on. So let's talk about the next thing that you need to have in place. We talked about clear accountability, making sure that everybody's on the same page, knowing who does what in the organization so they know where to go to get the answers that they need. So these are kind of the main things that we've implemented, and as much as I can really go into in a 15-minute or so recording. But what I do want to mention is that if you don't do these things, you're going to ramp up and then you're going to plateau. And I mean, I'm not picking on people, but I see it all the time. There's people I see on social media posting about this park they're buying, this park they're buying, this park they're buying, this, or apartments, or whatever, and they're just taking on massive amounts of property, but they don't have the back-end operations in place, the systems in place, to where they get so overwhelmed. Every time, same thing that happened to me happens to them. And it's very predictable. I can see it coming down the pipeline, like, yep, they're going to plateau, they're going to figure it out, and then they usually get back, they figure out all the stuff that I'm talking about, and they get their operations in place, and then you start to see them take off again. It's just very, very common. So it's really important early on to get these systems in place and do it right so that as you're scaling, you can continue to grow. I'm not telling you to stop what you're doing and only focus on systems and not be, buying your first property or your first few properties. Like, do that at the same time, but have this in mind so that you're putting the systems in place as you go and so that you can continue to grow. Kind of rhymes. Hey guys, if you're just hopping on, yeah, you're welcome, Paul. He said, thanks for the plug. If you guys are just hopping on, jump over to mariodatillo.tv. That's my YouTube channel, and you can watch this stream much better quality and also chat with me live. I can answer your questions. If you guys got questions about what I'm talking about, or mobile home park investing, or real estate investing in general, drop them in the chat. I'd love to talk to you about it. Love to give you some advice and help out in any way I can while I'm on here. This isn't going to be a long video, so make sure to hop on there right now while you can. So this is going to allow, and I'm just looking at my notes, honestly, I made some notes for things that you guys would probably want to know. Doing this, putting these systems in place is going to allow a leader to get back focused on the growth, back focused on opportunity, big picture vision, and get out of the daily operations. You got to ask yourself, am I doing things that are not productive because I don't have someone else or something else doing it for me, or at least organizing what I need to do? And so it's really freed me up a lot. Again, like I told you at the beginning, I was bogged down with all this day-to-day stuff. Once we got to a certain point, I plateaued, realized, oh my gosh, we are literally overwhelmed. And by implementing all these systems that I just talked about, I've gotten out of the daily operations of the communities. I'm looking at reports now. I'm in a meeting twice a week to get an understanding of where my properties are at and where our issues are. Doesn't mean you don't have challenges or issues or problems, but it just means you've got a very clear way of knowing about it and solving those problems and communicating with your team, and you're able to see exactly where you stand within your business. One thing that I didn't mention is you really need to have you need to have, and this falls under accountability, you need to have KPIs. You need to have numbers that everybody on your team is responsible for tracking and improving and hitting, right? So if you don't have target numbers and somebody who owns that number and clear accountability on where they're at with that number every week, if not every day, you get way out ahead of yourself. You end up getting the month finished up and you look back and you go, oh man, we were so far off. And by then it's too late to catch up. The month's over. You're starting a new month already. So it's too late to fix it. But if you've got numbers that you're tracking on a very regular basis, I recommend at least weekly, you can see when you've got problems early on and course correct before the end of the month or before the end of the quarter or before the end of the year. So one thing that I would say is that almost a lot of the investors that I know get stuck in the day-to-day and then they end up getting burnt out. All right. And then they go and say, this sucks. I'm selling everything, or this sucks. I'm not going to keep growing. And they really don't hit their max potential because they didn't put things in place. Oh man, I got a big question here. Norman, you're killing me. Just kidding. So anyways, they burn out. So you got to do this stuff to avoid burnout. Norman said the team is definitely the most important thing for sure. Always appreciate the value, Mario, and I'm excited to see how I could add some back to you at some point. Hey, I appreciate it, Norman. Norman's a great guy. He's actually in our MHP tribe and great supporter. So thank you very much. Looking forward to do some deals with you and partnering with you on some things. So keep an eye out. All right. So one thing that I mentioned briefly earlier on is like putting out fires. We got so just bogged down with putting out fires that we started, 6 months or a year before, that we recognized it and we started calling ourselves firefighters. And we realized that we did not want to be firefighters anymore. We wanted to be fire preventers. So I would say in the last probably 6 months, the team hasn't heard that very much just because we're thankfully out of a lot of that. But up until probably 6 months ago, that was like a rally cry of mine. It's like, we cannot be firefighters, we have to be fire preventers. And everything that I talked about up to this point, if you're just hopping on, go back and watch this video after it's over. But everything that I talked about is how you position yourself to be a fire preventer and not be a firefighter. And it's just a huge weight lifted off your shoulders when you don't have to be constantly like putting out fires here and there. Surprises still come up, but for the most part, you're not creating problem after problem after problem that just keeps hitting you over and over and over. That things that you can't even change now because you made the mistake a year ago or 6 months ago. So let's talk a little bit about, where you guys are having any issues. If you guys want, drop it in the chat. I'm going to put this up on the screen. But where are you guys having any problems in your business implementing systems? Drop it in the chat for me. I'd love to answer them for you. Where do you see problems with this? How have you learned maybe the same thing in your investing or in your businesses that you own? Jump over to MarioDattilo.tv, check this out, and drop in the comments as well. So guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to go over. Getting out of those daily ops as a leader, you're gonna have so many more ideas. You're going to have so many more like aha moments. You're going to have so many more opportunities because you're focused on how to grow and your mind can get freed up a little bit. And I don't know about you guys, but when I'm stuck into just daily stuff that I'm not good at, then my mind isn't really freed up and I'm not able to come up with great ideas. I just get very drained mentally. And so by doing this and getting out of the daily ops, you're able to then free up your mind, get the free time to read, to go to other groups, masterminds, education, and you can network a lot more. You see a lot more opportunities in front of you because you're able to spend time outside of the office networking and teaming up with people that, would maybe be good strategic partners for you. And because you're able to do that, you then start bringing, you can make rain, right? You become a rainmaker. And like for me, a lot of what I do in my company is I make connections. So give you an example, people in MHP Tribe are like, oh, I've got these mobile homes that we need to sell. And so what do? I'll go, hey, cool, connect with Danielle. She's our sales manager. And so then I make that connection. That creates rain. That creates deals for Danielle to then buy and bring into our communities, right? Or example, somebody says, hey, I've got a deal. I'm looking to wholesale or to sign the contract on. What do? Cool, talk to Gary. He's our acquisition manager, and I create deal flow and opportunities to the right people who can spend the time and do it really, really right. And it makes their job better because I'm adding value to them and providing leads and opportunity for them. At the same time, I'm doing what I'm best at, and that's focused on growing the company in general. It also allows me to find new software, find new tools, find new companies, vendors, things like that, and connect them with the people in my company that can then review it and see if it's a good fit. And so, again, it allows the owner, the visionary of the company, to go out and maximize the growth of the company and look at deals and whatever else. So from there, I think you guys get the point of why you need systems. Now you just need to go implement it. Go to mariodatillo.net. Okay, mariodatillo.net, not mariodatillo.tv. TV is the YouTube channel. .net is my personal site, and I want to partner with you. I want to do deals with you. I want to find ways that we can work together. Like I said, even in alternative routes as well. It doesn't necessarily need to be partnering on it, buying an asset, or you wholesaling something to me. But it might be you're a vendor, and my company might be able to work with you, or maybe we can help you in certain ways. So just jump over to mariodatillo.net. And I've actually put on there where you can download my personal seller questionnaire that I use when I'm talking to community owners to buy their communities. This is the same thing that my acquisition managers use, same thing that I use. It's no different. And so I'm just giving that out to people who are looking to buy communities. That will be a really good tool for you. It took us, since 2015 to get to this point on this questionnaire to where we feel like we've got everything that we need to know about a property to determine if it's a good deal and the positives and negatives about it, and figure out a quick value on it, all on one sheet of paper. Not two, one sheet of paper. You can fill it out while you're talking to owners. It's a really great tool. So from there, guys, I'm really excited to see and hear from you guys. Even if you're just watching this as a recording, drop in the comments below how you have either implemented systems or ways that maybe you're struggling implementing systems in your businesses, or some of the things that are maybe holding you back from really being able to flourish and go out there and scale your business the way you want it to. And I will respond to all the comments and give you any advice or input that I can to help you grow. So from there, you guys have an awesome rest of the week. Looking forward to working with you, and have an awesome night.